It's 12:06 in the afternoon on this Wednesday. Time for Helping Seniors of Brevard. We could go on listening to that music all afternoon. It's great music, but also we have a great show lined up for you. And to get things underway, here's the host of Helping Seniors of Brevard, and as I always like to say, a daily double because he is the executive director of Helping Seniors of Brevard. Here is Kerry Fink. Kerry?
Hey, John Harper, thank you. It's always good to be on the radio, gathering Wednesday lunchtime, 12 noon to 1 p.m. right here on 90.3 WEJF, and welcome to those of you who are joining us online at WEJF.net. And also hello to those of you who catch this as a podcast later on, because we make sure each broadcast goes out on, every place you can find a podcast. Everything from iTunes to iHeartRadio to Spotify, you name it. You look for Helping Seniors Radio, you're going to find it there. And then, of course, on our YouTube page and Facebook page and helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. And I'm so excited to be here. We are just fresh back from the 4th annual Helping Seniors Foundation Cruise. We had a lovely time sailing around the Caribbean and the Mexican waters near Costa Maya and Cozumel. It was such a great success. Everybody was like begging the captain, just take us around one more time. But we decided instead of that, we'll come off the ship and we'll start to talk about the 5th annual Helping Seniors fundraiser cruise. And I'll talk a little bit about that more later in today's show. But you can go ahead and grab a pencil and I'll give you a hint. It's going to be at the end of January 2025 and the first week of February 2025, and more coming on all that. But I want to preface today's radio show first by welcoming you on behalf of Joe Steckler, our president and founder, Nancy Deerdorf, our operations director, Karen Wernland, our information specialist, and the entire team that makes all these things happen in the Helping Seniors world. This is a show I have really been looking forward to since we started talking about this literally about a month ago, because Tom Kammerdener of the Aging Matters of Brevard was our guest, and we started talking about this, and since then he's become a big star because he did so well with the Dancing with the Stars. It was really fantastic, but thank you, Tom, for being back here today.
Thank you for inviting us back.
And not only is Tom here, but he brought somebody who's very, very instrumental to all the good things that Aging Matters does, helps keep the wheels turning there. Monopoli, welcome today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
And I want to kind of preface, because this is going to be a good discussion about the needs of seniors in Brevard County and some of the ways that we're all trying to do our best to work together to make things better for seniors in our county. But I need to start with a little bit of background to get us there. So in Brevard County, we have, give or take, you guys feel free to jump in if I get a figure here totally mangled, but let's just say there's 650,000 people in Brevard. And of those, they tell us that literally 1 in 4 is over the age of 65. So if you just start doing the math, 1 in 4, you walk down the street, 1 out of every 4 people is what they would consider retirement age. And if you go by AARP definition, that would make 1 out of 2 of us a senior. Because as you know, whether you like it or not, AARP is going to send you that card on your 50th birthday and slap you with that label. So we always talk about, in the Helping Seniors world, in Brevard County, you either are a senior, love and care for a senior, God willing, live a few more years, and you're going to be a senior. So everything we talk about is important. But there's another dimension to this that I want to add to the conversation before we really get into the conversation, and that is this. The senior population is growing like it's never grown before, for really 3 reasons that I can think of. There may be more. But number one is, first of all, we have this age wave. The boomers are getting to retirement, and that's a huge bubble in the population. So there are many more seniors than there were a few years ago just because of that. But reason number 2 is, and we talked about this at a recent meeting, it wasn't so long ago you would watch network TV, and Willard Scott on national network TV would stop down and celebrate somebody who turned 100. It was a national event that somebody would turn 100. Now, if you talk to almost anybody in the senior care industry locally, that's not unusual. It's still exceptional, but it's not as unusual as it once was. In fact, the statistic that I read was 85 plus is the fastest growing demographic percentage-wise now, because people just keep living. So we have more seniors that way too. And then because we live in the greatest state, that's Kerry's biased opinion, but we get to live here in Florida where everybody else wants to come to vacation. And apparently now they want to come and live here too. The population keeps growing because everybody is coming to Florida. The population, you see it all the time when you look around the county. You see new apartment complexes, new homes being built. People want to come to Florida. So by very definition, we're getting more and more seniors. And interestingly enough, in our county, there's an organization. We've been around now 13 years. We were founded by Joe Steckler, who is the gentleman who retired from the Navy, couldn't stay retired, created Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation, got all that built up. So they have Joe's Clubs. And when I met him 13 years ago, he was like, Kerry, we got to do more work for seniors because not the only challenge seniors face are cognition. They have a lot of other issues, and we need organizations that kind of help bring awareness and solutions for that. But there is an organization that's been here on the ground fighting this. You guys are about to be 60 years old fighting the good fight for seniors. And what we have all come to the conclusion is if we're going to make the difference for this just ballooning number of seniors in our counties, we got to figure out how we're all going to work together to do the best that we can to help seniors and really their families do that. And so with that, V, maybe I start with you and just ask you to kind of jump in. And maybe if you're new, because maybe you just moved here, you don't know Aging Matters. You don't tell us a little bit about the organization and everything that you guys do.
Thank you again. So Aging Matters has been around since 1965. So like you said, we're almost 60 years old. It is the leading agency of senior services here in Brevard County. And we cover everything, right? So at the core of what we do is how can we keep a senior at home? Mm-hmm. Safe, happy. Sometimes it requires a meal, hence our Meals on Wheels program, transportation, companionship, someone that can come and put grab bars, build a ramp, different. Maybe it is your senior caring for your senior, right, partner. Mm-hmm. So we have the Sunflower House that have all those group supports and resources and things like that. So we are looking, like you, at the whole. We're looking at the county. And by the way, 6 out of 10 people moving to Florida, they are over 50. They're seniors. So your numbers are right. Your data is right. And, you know, what do we do? You mentioned living longer. We celebrated someone turning 100 in one of our seniors and lunch sites, I think at the beginning of this year. So we see it. I am one that love to ask the question when I go speak. I have people raise their hand, raise your hand if you were driving a white car, some hands. Raise your hand if you have a pet, some hands go up. Raise your hand if you've been out of the country, some hands go up. Raise your hand if you're getting older. Well, guess what? Every hand's going to go up, right? Because it's the one thing we all have in common. It doesn't matter. Your past does not matter. That is your future. You're aging. So how does that look like, right? And it looks very different for very different people, depending on your network, depending on your village, depending on your resources. So for us, it's like, how can we position ourselves to be part of that village, to be part of that conversation moving forward, right? So when you sit down with your spouse or your kids or your parents, how does Aging Matters support that plan? And we're very proud of the work we do, and we want to continue to grow and collaborate with other organizations here because, like you said, we're aging.
Yeah. One of the things that I want to point out, which is important for people to get an understanding of, and I love the term that you use, is we often don't call ourselves a nonprofit. You said we are a
social impact organization.
I like that. It's a kind word, but from where I'm coming from, what I think is important that people have to keep in mind about nonprofits, and I'm talking about good nonprofits because we've all heard some stories about people who don't do things the right way, and shame on them. But the point of a nonprofit, and I thought it was interesting because Joe Steckler, who has decades of experience going back into the 90s with nonprofits, he said, Kerry, it's a business. Okay, people have to remember you have employees to pay, you have bills to pay. Not everything gets donated. You try to do as much as you can to stretch every dollar, but you really depend on the community support and assistance to do the job. But the difference between us and a for-profit business is nobody's doing this with the intention of buying their next yacht or something like that. We're doing this to serve the people who we want to help live better.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a business, and I'm glad you're speaking to that. The 501c that we all talk about is that's a designation.
Right.
So it's just a tax designation. The rest has to be run like a business.
Yeah.
Because for us to serve the people we want to serve, we need employees, we need a system. So, the only thing, like you mentioned, is that at the end of the day, nobody's getting a bonus to go somewhere or retire. That at the end of the day, if you dissolve a 501c, nobody's getting rich.
Right.
So just a little, I guess, information and education on that. But yes, it is a business that the whole purpose of incorporating this 501c is to fill a gap, right? So you see a problem in a community or an issue in a community, and you ask yourself, okay, this is the issue. Do I have the answer? Maybe, yes. And what do I need to respond to that issue and to that need? And you bring a group, you incorporate, you have a nonprofit. But in order to continue to do the work, you need funds, you need volunteers, and many other resources. So like we were talking before we went on the air, we fill that gap locally that the government cannot do.
Yeah,
right. So
exactly.
So they depend on us. So and they will give you a grant, so you get some money from the state or federal government. They're saying here's funds. Go feed the hungry. Go take care of the foster care kids. Go take care of the pets. Again, what they cannot do, we're filling that gap, but we also are the tool and the instrument for private citizens and companies to say, I want a Brevard that looks like this. Yeah. Healthy lagoon, good pets, seniors being fed, foster kids that have a shot, after they come out of the system. How do I build that? Well, that's where social impact organizations come in, right? You build that community by collaborating with us, ensuring that we have the resources that we need so we can go ahead and build that. And if you ask me, everybody wins.
Yeah, I think it's so well said. And Tom, one of the things I wanted to say was when Joe was first helping seniors back, we started in 2011 after Joe had retired, couldn't stay retired from Brevard Alzheimer's. He said, we got more work to do. And so here we are all these years later. But one of the things we agreed upon early on, we said, we're not here because if you think about it, if we're here for the community as a nonprofit, there is really no competition, right? We're here to complete the mission that we all have together to serve our seniors. And Tom, one of the things you and I have talked about is the fact that if there's a program could be a very good program, maybe a life-saving program for somebody, if they don't know it exists, it's not going to help them. And so what we have always talked about is that, they use that expression so often about, well, it takes a village to raise a child, but it really takes all of us working together to make a difference for seniors.
Yeah, we're so happy to be in that fight with Joe Steckler.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been a leader, and, we are also a leader in the community, and we need to continue that fight together. That's what we do. And you're correct. Not everybody knows about the services, and that's one of those things we found out during COVID. We found out a lot of people didn't know about the services and suddenly came out from everywhere that suddenly said, hey, I need help, I need this. And, we responded and as did you. And again, like you said, it takes a village to bring everybody together.
And each time I sit down with you and Via, I keep learning more because there are, even though we're like in the business, if you'd excuse the expression, I keep learning about so many good programs and things you do in the community, and I'm thinking like many of us may not even be aware. And probably the other part we don't understand is that you could be somebody, if you're in the point of needing the service is important, but maybe you're in a place that you could support some of the work and help us like grow together so that we do this. I love how you said it, V, about the fact that we should as a community be ultimately looking to like how could we be the place that everybody in the country points to and says, look at Brevard County. They really know how to look after seniors. We have a long way to go, but it's not for our collective efforts of trying.
No, absolutely. I always say that, if they ask you, what do you want to see in your community? What do you want to tell this all these people that are moving here to Brevard County. And, when they're researching, wouldn't it be amazing if they can research all these great schools, look at the beach, look at that wonderful community, but also, oh, wow, look at their philanthropic philosophy, look how they take care of each other and have that expectation that when you come here, hey, you're going to drive for Meals on Wheels. You're going to volunteer. You're going to, we're going to make you, we're going to expect for you to do something, whether it's fun, time, treasure, or talent, but it really builds the community. It's, listen, I'm going to take it a step further, and I'm going to speak, obviously, about Aging Matters in Brevard. Think of it as insurance. I've been married for 22 years. I have 2 daughters. They're 21 and 18. I would love if they say, Mom, we're going to stay with you and live right next to you and take care of you. But I don't know that.
Right.
Right. And I'm raising them in a way that I want them to just go, go live. If I found a great job in France, perfect, go. So thinking of that and knowing that, then it's me and Michael, let's say, my husband. Hey, Mike. I need to make sure that regardless of our financial condition, there's that village, there's that support out there.
Yeah.
So when you support Aging Matters in Brevard, it's like insurance for me. I'm 50. Maybe I will need the transportation. Maybe Michael will need the transportation. Maybe we get to the point that we need meals. Maybe it's the ramp, and maybe we can pay it forward. Maybe we can be one of those that says, hey, I can pay for my meals, or I can help other people, but I might have the need, right?
Yeah.
I might be alone. I might outlive Michael, and not whatever that might be. So for me, every time when I came to Aging Matters 2 years ago, it really made me start thinking of myself.
Yes.
And that plan, and how does that look, and the importance of having you, us, and these other organizations that are there to fulfill that need of seniors, because I will be one of those, and I do not know the needs that I might have. So it gives me peace of mind to know that Aging Matters is out there and that I can support their growth, right? That 60 years from now, they're still going to be here.
That's really, again, kind of like the heart of the matter. Joe has always talked from the day I met him about the need for each of us to create an aging plan. And so at first it took me a while to get it. I finally got it when I kind of equated it to how they talked to us about having a hurricane plan. Does not mean you want the problem. You want to be ready to tackle the problem if it comes your way. And the point about aging is
it will come your way.
There are things that are likely to come your way. And interestingly enough, not all those problems are solved by money. You could have all the money in the world, still have the problem.
We see that all the time, right, Tom?
Exactly. And then, again, it isn't all about money when it comes to the safety net. We're a safety net for this county, and it's the volunteers that put in that time that does equate to a dollar amount.
Yes.
It's a very valuable dollar amount. We have more than 650 volunteers that cover this entire county, delivering meals at our Sunflower House, working at our office. I mean, we can't do without them. Kitchen, I mean, it's just amazing, that volunteer network, what it does for us, and it needs to grow.
Yes.
It needs to continue to grow because the population is also growing of seniors that need the help.
There's no question about it, because really, if we're going to solve the problem together and make a community, I like how you really, how you put we can make a community that we're proud of. I get, really, it disturbs me every time, and we get these calls every single day from a senior who's facing homelessness, really through no fault of their own. They're just stuck in the market conditions. Rents are going through the roof. The price of everything is just, seems to be getting tougher and tougher for folks on a fixed income. And so if your landlord comes back and says, well, your new rent's going to be $400 more than it was last year, that could be fine if you're young. You say, I'll get a different job. I'll work overtime. I'll do something else. But when you're a senior and you're just tracking what your next Social Security check is going to be, even when they give you an increase, it's probably not going to be enough to make that work. And to me, it's almost unconscionable that we don't have collectively a better system for looking after those seniors. Because I can't imagine being homeless at 25 or 35, but we're getting calls from people in their 80s who all of a sudden are facing homelessness. And it's not that these people have been bad renters. I've lived in this place for 20 years, and all of a sudden something shifted, and now they're kind of caught in the crosshairs.
Then exactly. Yeah. Just like you said. So imagine you're 80.
Yeah.
You have the fixed income. You need the $400. What do you do? Or do you stop eating then? Do you need them Meals on Wheels?
Yeah.
What do you do? How do you phase that? So it's definitely more than sad. It's tragic, to think of someone like that and now being able to help. So, and that's what we need to, when we were talking before, it's not a lot of people think nonprofits competing each other and everybody's, needs the dollar, but I go back to how do we grow that pie, right? How do we make this a community that just cares? Because to no fault of that person, he's now 80, 85 and facing eviction.
Yeah, it's a terrible situation. We're going to talk a little bit more about how important these programs are and how they actually make a difference in people's lives when we get into the second half of the Helping Seniors radio show today. Before we get there, though, I want to make sure people know how to reach Aging Matters. We're talking with Tom Kammerdener, and we're talking with V. Monopoli from Aging Matters. I know you guys have a terrific website, but tell us how somebody, if they want to get more information on the programs, where do you want them to go?
So again, you can go to agingmattersbrevard.org, and also the phone number is 321-639-8770. That's our main line, and a couple of buttons to go through, but we can get you where you need to go as far as what questions you may need to have answered.
Awesome. And when we get to the second half, I'm really going to try to drive into the Meals on Wheels program because it's such an important program. And I want to talk also about ways that you, if you're listening, can get involved. And this is one of those things where you can make a difference. So please stick around with us for the second half of Helping Seniors Radio. We'll be right back.
12:33 right now here on 90.3 FM. You're listening to Helping Seniors of Brevard on this Wednesday as we get back to more of the show. Here once again is the Executive Director of Helping Seniors of Brevard and the host of the show, Kerry Fink. Kerry?
Hey, thanks, John Harper. Welcome back for a second round of Helping Seniors Radio, the lunchtime show, each Wednesday, right here on 90.3 FM, WEJF. And if you're listening along online at WEJF.net, we thank you for that. And if you're listening to the podcast, or maybe you just joined us, you need to know about the podcast. Because if you missed some of the great conversation we had during the first half of the show, the beautiful thing is you can go hunt down the podcast and then catch up, because we have some really wonderful people. I've said at the outset of the show, I was so excited looking forward to this show because I think great things are happening in Brevard County for seniors. We have a lot of work to do, but there are some really quality people and quality organizations who are in the same battle as we do. Joe Steckler, when he founded Helping Seniors of Brevard after successfully building up the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation and those Joe's Clubs, he said, Kerry, there's still so much work to be done for seniors. And, they just recently, May was Older Americans Month, and the Brevard County Board of Commissioners always select a citizen every year that they kind of like use as an example to say, well, this is kind of like a person who is a senior who is really doing what should be inspirational to all other seniors in the community. And so here's Joe, who is now age 90, and every single day he is working on things on behalf of seniors for helping seniors and not giving up that fight. But they recognized him as a person who really has the best interest of seniors at heart. And one of the things that he said to the commissioners, which I thought is so important, it kind of guides the rest of the conversation we're going to have today. He said, even though he moved to Brevard County in the early 90s as he retired from the Navy, where his last command was actually the Navy's retirement home in Gulfport, Mississippi, he said, I thought it was important that we do work for seniors going back to those days. He said, he told the commissioners, I have never seen a time where it is more important that the need is going to be growing and we have to do more for seniors going forward. And so with that as kind of a backdrop, let me reintroduce our guest, Tom Kammerdener, and also V. Monopoli from Aging Matters of Brevard. Welcome back, guys. We're having a good conversation about all things seniors today.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you so much.
And we were talking about, just before we got to the mid-show break, we started to talk about Meals on Wheels as one of the flagship programs. And I learned something new just before the radio show, because you guys began in 1965, but I think, V, you were telling me that the Meals on Wheels program didn't actually come into existence until 1974. So you've been like serving seniors every step of the way.
For 50 years. I know this. 1974. I was born in 74. So I know this. 50 years serving meals. And I'm going to let Tom talk more in details about the program and the needs of the program. But, let me ask you, we know food brings us all together.
Yes.
Right? That meal is so important. That time, that conversation. We sit down. You asked me, picture a great moment and visualize, when I meditate. And I always think of my family around the table.
Yeah.
Around the table, around food, around
Yeah.
eating, that conversation, that time of socialization and enjoying, the home cooked meal. So many people, many seniors in Brevard do not have that. And I'm going to let Tom talk about Meals on Wheels.
I wanted to say this because the thing about Meals on Wheels is it's so important for several reasons. I know we get the calls. I am surprised that we actually get calls from people who don't know that such a program exists. And then we have sort of the bittersweet thing of saying it does exist, but there needs to be more done to help it exist for more people, which is a big challenge by itself. But it's so important. I don't think people really get that, because we get the calls from people who say, I have to decide, am I going to buy the medicine the doctor said, or am I going to eat a meal? I can't imagine trying to make that kind of a judgment call. How do you do that? How do you parse that out? Or somebody says, well, I either pay the rent or I don't eat, And so there's this whole thing about getting a meal to somebody that they can know at least they're going to have something to eat, which is so important. But then there's a whole nother dimension past that, which I've understood is kind of like the well check part. It's just some socialization, even if it's just those few minutes that somebody's coming by and saying, here, we're here to brighten your day with the meal, but also to say hello and see how you're doing.
And that's what we tell everybody. It's more than just a meal
Yeah.
come out. So it's that safety check. We making sure they're okay, make sure they're not lying on the floor. We save lives every year by making sure they get medical attention in time. The program is so vital. It's donation based. Like you said, if they can't pay anything, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. And I always tell the story that each month you'll see an envelope come in and it'll have $1 in it. And every time I say, I get chills. It's that person that has just out of the pure pride, they want to contribute something, and they send $1 in, and that makes me want to work harder to make sure that we're going to find ways for each senior on our list to get a meal.
Yeah.
It's we provide that nutrition, it's that socialization, it's that warm smile, that brief conversation every day. I would do temperature checks coming out, make sure everything is okay. And I went out with a volunteer driver. And you see like the full gamut of things when you go to someone's home. So went up to this home, and driver knocks on the door. Woman comes. She's fully dressed. I mean, makeup on, everything. She looks wonderful, like she's going out. So she comes to the door and she looks at him and she says, "It's your turn." He goes, "You're right." And he tells her a joke. So each time he would deliver a meal, they would rotate out, and each one would tell a joke, and that was the biggest thing of their day, making
Absolutely.
sure. And she was just tickle pink just to hear him tell a joke. So now I'll tell you that what's going on now with the reality. Right now, our waiting list is about 550. It should go up to about 700 by the end of the year. The American Rescue Plan, which was during COVID, that funding has come to an end. It's funding that was going to go away. It wasn't permanent. And we're going back to pre-COVID funding levels, which means that we have to cut back on meals that we're doing. So some of it goes by attrition, but some of it goes where we've had to cut out what we call a secondary meal, where people have a really high nutritional score. We call it a 5, 1 through 5. So those people would get a hot meal, and they'd also get a cold meal. that would be a secondary meal for them that night because they needed it nutritionally.
Wow.
We've had to cut all of those out.
Wow.
Because we had to feed more people one meal than a group of people 2 meals to make the dollar stretch. So that's our reality right now, and it's nothing's happening to the AZ as far as fiscally, which it's just as far as we get a certain amount of dollars to feed people, and we're stretching it as far as we can take it, and that's where we go back to that village concept. We get our federal dollars, we get some dollars from the county. And then it comes down to where we have other campaigns. We have our fundraisers, and right now we're running a campaign. It's called Feed the Need, and it's about just this, trying to lower that. We don't want to hit 700.
Yeah,
we want to get back down to where that waiting list was, close to 0. And that Feed the Need campaign is just a reoccurring donation campaign where for a monthly amount, whether it's $5, $10, $30, just to help build up those dollars to help take one senior off the list.
Yeah.
And Veal can explain a little bit more about that.
Well, and I wanted to also, before I explain a little bit more about the campaign, we go to pre-COVID funding, but we have post-COVID costs of food, post-COVID costs of everything.
V, I want to interrupt you for just 1/2 second, because both what you're saying and what Tom's saying was making me think, like we just talked at the beginning of the show, that we have many more seniors.
That was my next point.
Not less seniors. And when you're saying that the funding is shrinking, but we're trying to feed more mouths to feed. This is like
and that's what I was going to say. That so it's pre-COVID funding, post-COVID costs for more people.
Wow.
Because the county has now
goodness.
more seniors. So even if I go down, that's 2 years, let's do the gala and golf tournament, and we got this, we got that. It's fantastic. But the need continues to grow as more seniors come to the county.
Yeah.
Or people hit the 60, hit the age, or whatever that might be. So I go back to then that village and to, what, Tom, the importance of recurring donations, we can plan, right? We are one COVID, one hurricane away from canceling a golf tournament, from whatever that, you've been around too. I've been doing development for a while. You give me $5 every month, I can count on those $5.
Yeah.
I can plan for those future meals.
Yeah.
So we're really encouraging everyone to go visit our website and again, 2, 3, 5, 10, 30, whatever that amount is, we can plan those future meals. We can have that aging plan.
Yes.
We can have that feeding plan for this county, and skip the coffee once a month, maybe skip the lunch once a month, and ensure that that a senior gets fed, and not just fed, just like Tom said, that they get that socialization, right? So for I think the number is 60%. Maybe 70%, but I'm going to go with 60%. 6 out of 10 seniors, that's the only person they're going to see that day.
Yeah.
That's it. That if not, they are just sitting there watching TV, listen to the radio. If that, they do not see anyone. So it is more than that meal. It is knowing that that they're eating, but knowing that they're seeing someone, that we're making sure they're okay. That is it's a human basic need.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the misconceptions also that people think that we're a soup kitchen. And that's not the case. Our kitchen is a distribution kitchen, but we pay for every piece of food that we put out of that kitchen. It's not donations coming in. It's our costs have gone up 20-25% for the last several years per year. And then again, that dollar level that we're receiving, again, the more we spend, the less we feed.
Wow.
And that's the reality of it.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that people don't necessarily parse into this too is the fact that you guys are also trying to be nutritionally correct when you're doing this. And as we've talked about, sometimes you can get junk food. It feels like you can go in and get junk food cheaper than the stuff your body really needs. And I think you guys are also trying to make sure that you're getting something that's going to make a difference in somebody's life as well.
Right. We follow the guidelines of the Older Americans Act and Department of Elder Affairs. So it's actually a specific guideline of what nutritionally they have to have each day. And so it's not just put together by any means. It's actually really well thought out, dietitian based, and so yes, and again, and it's costly.
Yeah, and there's two aspects to this, right? So not only are there more people who need this service available, and at a time when the funding is drying up, so now you're trying to like make everything just stretch farther, but at the same time, you also need more people to volunteer a little bit of time to help get meals out to people. So it's really like happening on both sides at once.
Yes, and we could use volunteers in most parts of the county, especially down south and up north is where we can really use volunteers.
And I want to talk about this. I think we did cover this a little bit when we were on the radio before, but apparently, like I had this idea, like if you're going to volunteer and do Meals on Wheels, it's going to take, a full day or several days a week. And what you explained was that you can actually do it with literal slivers of time. It's just...
Correct. So depending on the route size, it can have anywhere from, say, 4 to 10 meals. And a lot of times we try to get like a local business to like kind of adopt a route.
Yep.
And if they can adopt a route and maybe rotate out with their associates, one, they get so much out of it. We call it, we get them hooked on it basically. And then we design the route around a lunch hour.
Yeah.
So it would take them, 45 minutes to maybe an hour and a half to deliver that route.
Wow. So it's not a huge time commitment for somebody who says, look, I'll donate a little bit of time and try to help out some. So if somebody wants to get involved on either side of this, meaning they either want to be involved and say, yeah, I heard what V is talking about. I can let you charge my credit card $20 a month, $25, $30 a month, whatever would make that difference. Do they call you? Do they go online? What's the best way? Or they say, I want to volunteer. How do we get folks involved?
Call me. No.
Right.
My number is visit the website. Everything is there, right?
Yeah.
So if you have access to the website, it's agingmattersbrevard.org. You will see our Feed the Need campaign there, but you will also see volunteer opportunities. So you can fill a form and go that way. Or you can, let me put my glasses because, I'm 50 and I need that. You can also call our RSVP program, Retire and Senior Volunteer Program. So if you're actually a senior and can give your time, you can call 321-631-2749. Again, 321-631-2749. That was my radio voice.
You said that perfect in a radio voice. I like it. You should do this more often.
Right? I have my radio voice. So again, to just call the main number, go on the website. And if you are a business and you want to know a little bit more, if you're, a company, I would love to come talk to your staff, talk to your employees, and whether it's adopting that route, having that time, or maybe, this recurring donations, I'm always happy to go out in the community and let you know how you can help us help our seniors.
This is so important. We're gonna keep this conversation going about how we can really help you. It's called Feed the Need, right?
It's called Feed the Need, and hey, can I plug BBN? I'm going to. If you have BBN, the Brevard Business Newspaper, there's a QR code there.
Yep.
So you can follow that too. But again, just agingmattersbrevard.org, or call our main number or the number that I just gave you. If you're 55 and above, you can call 321-631-2749, and Allison will help you.
Wonderful. Yeah, we're gonna keep talking about how we can partner together more on Feed the Need, because I can't think of anything that's more important. It's like everything we talked about. It's the nutrition, it's the well check, it's everything that's so important in all of this. And thank you guys for all the work you're doing. And like we started out at the beginning of the show, it's going to take all of us working together to make this happen. And V, the way you put it, like we want a community that we can be proud of how we look after our seniors. And so as we go out there collectively and talk up the needs of seniors, we need to get everybody thinking like, do you want your grandmother or grandfather living this way, or your mother and father living this way? The answer is no. We want to do the right thing and step up. We can, we take a lot of time in our county to try to do the right things for our kids and, get them the best schooling, get them the best programs that we can. There's always going to be problems, but we seem to be committed on that end. What we want to do is get everybody to put that same passion into doing the right thing for our seniors. We want to be proud of how seniors are taken care of here in Brevard County. And so with that, I kind of want to wind up in the last couple of minutes on kind of like a high note, because we talked about as a nonprofit, we have no reason to exist other than to serve you in our community. On the other hand, if you don't help us serve you, we can't do it. That's part of the problem. We can only go as far as someone will help us to go, whether it's a business, whether it's a government grant, whether it's individual contributions. We can't do this without your help. And so that's why we're going to talk for a few minutes about fundraising. And before everybody runs for the exits, this is fun. We Joe, years ago, when Joe was trying to figure out how to build the Joe's Clubs, he said, let's do a car raffle. Let's make it a fun thing. So at least when you're donating your money, who knows, you're doing the right thing anyway, but you might go home in a new car. So our 8th annual Helping Seniors car raffle is coming up. We're going to wind up on Sunday, October 27th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. back at the American Muscle Car Museum with a family-friendly Sunday afternoon event out there. We literally had to move it to that because it was a nighttime event, and we had so many people coming to the museum that it actually, believe it or not, got crowded. Which I've never seen before. So this year we're going to be inside and outside and just try to make it a fun afternoon event. But somebody's going to go home in their choice of a new car. It's the Helping Seniors car raffle. That's a big fundraiser for us.
So far, it has not been me. I buy the ticket. I'm waiting for my car.
Well, this could be the year. As we always say, you got to be in it to win it. How do you get a ticket? You spend one $25 donation that gives you a ticket, or you spend $100 and we'll give you 5 tickets. Each ticket is an opportunity to win that car. And just like Diane Pelak last year, who was our winner, she goes, I want that Mitsubishi Outlanders, what she's tooling around with. You could join the growing number of people driving around in a car simply because they did the right thing and said, I'm going to helping seniors, but I'm going to be in it to win it. So how do you get a ticket? You can call us at 321-473-7770, or you can just visit helpingseniorscarraffle.com. And so I want to throw out 2 other things that we're up to right now, and then I want you to talk about a really cool event that I'm seeing on Facebook, and I'm so excited about the Havana Night. We're going to come back to that. But real quickly, on July 27th, connected to the Choose Your Adventure car raffle. The reason we call it Choose Your Adventure, by the way, is because there's 6 cars. They all come from AJ's fine car dealership. So that's why there's everything from a Chevrolet Silverado pickup truck that you could choose from, to a Jeep Compass Sport, to one of those great SUVs, either a Kia or a Mitsubishi. So there's so many great cars you can choose from. That's why we call it Choose Your Adventure. It depends on what you think you need a car to do. But we're also doing something with the help of Chef Jillian with Chefs for Seniors, and she's collecting a couple of her master chefs. And we're doing a thing right there at Joe's Senior Resource Center, which is our location there at 1344 South Apollo Boulevard. We're on the 2nd floor of that Omni Healthcare building. And Chef Jillian is preparing, she's trying to be clever about this. She's found 6. It's a tasting. It's a food tasting. We're calling it a Saturday afternoon sip and stroll. It goes from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. and you drop in. She's got 6 stations with a food tasting and a tea that is representative of one of the 6 cars in the car raffle. So, for example, if I get this confused, it's all on the website. Go look at helpingseniorscarraffle.com. But I think she paired something like bison sliders with the out west feeling of a Chevrolet Silverado. And then when it was one of the, I think it was the Mazda, she paired with some sushi and things like. So there's all these great tastings. You buy a ticket, you come out, you have a great time. You're supporting the work of Helping Seniors. There's going to be entertainment. You'll get to see the Senior Resource Center of Brevard. And you get to go home with your very own personal chef's apron. So it's got a little I Am Helping Seniors on it and stuff like that. And so it'll be a great keepsake from the event. But then next time you're in the kitchen, you won't have to mess up your clothes either. So you can't lose. 1 ticket is $45, 2 tickets, so a couple can get there for a $75 donation. It's a little higher end than some of the stuff we do like with the car raffle. But we thought it'd be a fun thing for us to try. And we hope we'll see you guys out there. If you want tickets for that, Call 321-473-7770. And then also, I mentioned at the top of the show, we do have the 5th annual Helping Seniors fundraising cruise. We just came back from a delightful time in Ocean Cay, Bahamas, Costa Maya, Mexico, and Cozumel, Mexico on the beautiful MSC seashore. We liked it so much we said, Captain, let's do it again. And we're going to go out January 31st for a 3-night sailing. So if all you've got is a weekend, you can join us for that. Or you can come with us on the following sailing, which is February 2nd. It's a 7-night, just like we just had a great time with. And a lot of people say, well, I'll just do both. I love being on a cruise ship. And so Chris Morse has great pricing. You want to visit helpingseniorstravelclub.com or call us at 321-473-7770. And now I want to make sure we learn about Havana Night. This sounds really cool. And we all need the help. Guys, you need to find the money, help us. We need your help. But it's fun.
It's fun. And I'm gonna, because you said, a little higher end. So Havana Night, October 5th, is gonna be the the Space Coast Realtor Association. So right in the middle of the county, on October 5th at 6:00. You can find more information about that night on our website. It's our high end fall benefit, but I guarantee a fun mission center night. Great food, dancing, silent auction, raffles. Open bar, if that gets you there, that's included. That's included too. But look at the different sponsorship levels. Look at the ticket, the individual ticket. But maybe you can put a basket together for me, and that's a way for you to also help us, right? So the silent auction is a big part of that night. So maybe that's your way of contributing to our mission. I hope to see you there, but there's definitely different ways that you can help us put a successful event, and it all goes to feeding our seniors. So.
Yeah, it's so important. Everything we've been talking about. I want to thank you, V Monopoli, and also Tom Kammerdener from Aging Matters. Before we close out, I want to make sure we give that number and the website one more time. So if people have been hearing us talk about everything from, hey, I wanted to learn more about Havana Nights, or more seriously, I really want to help you guys feed the need, how do we do that? One more time.
Well, again, you can call 321-639-8770. That's our main line, 321-639-8770, or visit our website, agingmattersbrevard.org.
Well, thank you guys so much. I know it's going to be first of many conversations, because we're going to get involved and figure out how together we're going to challenge the community to feed the need. All right, we'll see you. That's the time we have for this edition of Helping Seniors. We'll see you next Wednesday right back here on the radio. Have a great week until then.